Hello, everyone. I am Christy Shaw, and this is TAP, the Audacity to Pivot. So, I gave you an introduction about a week ago or so that we would be launching this wonderful new podcast titled TAP, the Audacity to Pivot. And on this, our first episode, I am talking with my friend, cohort, and co-host, Jasmine Kirby. So Jasmine is a PhD candidate with her master's in industrial organizational psychology. She's focused and very passionate about the plight of women, especially those of a certain age, in the workplace that are becoming increasingly underemployed, unemployed, and dissatisfied with their work. So Jasmine's contribution to the larger ecosystem of social change is to assist and encourage and to work with women in their efforts to cultivate the work and careers they rightly deserve. And what I love about Jasmine is that she is also not shy about speaking the truth when we may be in denial about the reality that we can oftentimes be the agents of our own adverse outcomes. So Jasmine and I share that passion. And though Jasmine is laser focused on the behavioral constructs, i.e. the attitudes and relationships and leadership development of work, as well as how negative employment trends are adversely impacting women, especially older women worldwide, I focus more on the creative and how creatively that we often get consumed by the world of work. And the truth is, this creative aspect of who we are may be the very root to how we can and should pivot, because I believe the world of work has a shelf life, not necessarily associated with retirement. I think at some point we have to be introspective and we need to turn these trends into opportunities to pivot towards another rendition of ourselves. Hence the title of the podcast. But before I open up the microphone to Jasmine, I want to just share briefly how I met her. So we met virtually via one of our PhD courses, and aside from immediately gleaning that she was likely the smartest one in the class, I detected a wonderful spirit from her, which felt very kindred. And so I connected with her on a social media platform, and we would only chat or message like rarely, very intermittently. But what I always felt was a sense of community because of Jasmine, if that makes any sense. And so I paid attention to Jasmine because, as I mentioned, she was the smart one in the class. But recently she started posting articles and posts that spoke precisely to my dissertation concept. So I became intrigued and consumed with the excitement about her focus. That said, virtual intermittent interaction turned into a phone call. And then that phone call turned into FaceTime. And then that turned into learning that we had so much in common. And in my knower, I felt a partnership with her in some way was destined. So she's far from the most, she is by far the most energetic, positive, one of the most energetic people and positive forces that I know. And what I recognize in Jasmine is that she's an overcomer that continues to show up for life and speaks life when life has fought to render her silent. And that's the spirit I recognize in our class form that we have in common. So that said, welcome, Jasmine.
Oh my. Well, thank you for having me, Christy. Thank you for your tenacity and the partnership. And I agree. It was in courses. I could just tell there was something about you as well, that you would be another who wouldn't settle for settle. Whether it was in the workplace or outside of the workplace, since we deal in social change, I could just tell you would be another who might be willing to take a journey to see what we're leaving on the table. Particularly with us both being in industrial organizational psychology. I am, much like you've described, I am both excited of work. So that's really what drives me, because I believe anything could be betterfied. So I am so excited to be joining you on this journey for TAP. Quite frankly, I intend to be tapping into some of this for myself and my personal growth as well. But I am very excited to be engaging with you and women all over the world who know in their knower instinctively
Yes.
that there's more, that
Yes.
they deserve more. They can just sense it.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm hoping. That's my hope for us getting together and
Okay.
tapping in, having the audacity, first and foremost,
Yes.
to say, hey, wait a second, got to be more.
Yes.
And I'm just hoping that we're able to engage, and I love the ease, right? To educate, equip, empower, and even enlist.
Yes.
Enlist women all over the globe to get at it.
Yes.
Right? Because
Yes.
they instinctively believe that they deserve it. So I am super excited about the journey.
Wonderful. Jasmine, this is absolutely wonderful. And so there were a couple of things that I wanted to get your input on. But when I think about what you do for women and this world of work, and I thought about how I am totally there with you. But one of the things that's big for me, and I think it's because of my personal experience where I was a young mom, so I was thrusted into the world of work because I had to be a provider. And what I wasn't able to give full attention to was the fact that I was actually a creative being corporate. So it came a time where I realized, okay, no more babies to raise. And now I want to pivot into being the creative that I know that I am. So that is my contribution, I think, to the larger picture. But what I found interesting was that there was an article recently published in the Wall Street Journal, and I think the title of it was "COVID Shrinks the Labor Market, Pushing Out Women and Baby Boomers." So my question to you is, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's women that are getting pushed out, and why the baby boomer?
That was very intriguing. Great question. Love it. And so, of course, me being me, dug into it a little, right? Intuitively, I thought I started to see some trends, but I wanted to back it up with some data behind it. One of the notable things around COVID is funny. It just doesn't take a break.
That's right.
So even though lots of things were happening in the world of work, it took no break from gender inequity.
How about that?
It just kept going. So with this recession, which some are even dubbing, I'm not sure how much I love the term, but she-cession, many of the industries impacted in this recession are the preponderance of the majority of the workers are women. So you're talking hospitality, health care, industries such as these have oftentimes have more women working in them than men.
Yes.
In the 2008-2009 recession, who got hit then? It was construction, manufacturing. So this recession does look different when you take a look at the types of industries that really took the hit. And
okay.
then on top of what we were already experiencing.
Yes.
Right? In terms of the work we were doing around gender inequity, we're just seeing, here's another factor.
Okay. Okay.
Into play, and the baby boomer one is really interesting. We already know that an older worker, it may take twice as long. If you're unemployed, it may take you twice as long to find employment. So if you lose the job,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and your job disappears, period, because we're not going to have 100% re-engagement of all the work that we did lose.
Okay.
We're not going to see that.
Okay.
So it's these compounded things. It's already more challenging for a older worker to find work. Then when they do,
Yes.
too often they're being paid less than.
And gravely less giving the pandemic, I have
Correct.
noticed. Mm-hmm.
So we've got, with every opportunity, there's likely some challenge
Yes.
with it. So
Yes.
it's a double-edged sword. While what's occurred in COVID, you could look at it one way and go, oh my gosh, look what we have lost.
Yes.
But here's an opportunity, depending on your audacity and your willingness to pivot.
Yes.
This may be the moment for, say, women workers, older workers, to say, hey, wait a second. What's my second act?
That's right. That's
Maybe
right.
I'm not going back
That's right.
to my old vessel. What's the second act? So, yes, you're spot on. A trend, I'd have to do much more research, but the trend is definitely showing that the women only make up 50% of the workforce.
Okay.
We're 55%
Okay.
who are being displaced by the COVID-19 recession.
Wow.
So
And wow. And that's on top of all of the other challenges that we faced prior to COVID. Wow.
exactly.
And you speak to something that I think I let in with, is that this may also be an opportunity, and it has been for me, for us to take a look at our creative contributions and what we can do with that, and how we can use that to actually launch ourselves into a different sphere in terms of taking care of ourselves and the quality of life that we lead. I think that's paramount, and I think that it's something that we want to give a lot of thought to. Now, what I found was interesting and seemingly contradicts the previous assessment was that according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women over 50 are the fastest growing age workforce category. So I'm getting mixed messages here. And so according to that, the Labor of Statistics, it says that 3.6 million over 50 will be added to the U.S. workforce by 2026. In contrast to the men over 55 working is projected to decline by 3%. And so I'm curious as to what your thoughts are, and who are these women? And when I ask who are they, it is very strategic in my asking who are these women, because are they women who have somewhat status already and find themselves being pursued, right? And find themselves more easily welcomed or embraced back into the workforce? Because if that is in fact the case, I will raise my hand and say that would not apply to me. Everyday working girl. So that would leave me out if these are the women that are being projected to populate the workforce by 2026. And I don't know what data supports that or not. So what are your thoughts about that?
My initial thoughts, and today I'll call them hunches, and absolutely for our time here, it's something to dig into.
Okay.
Depending on when that data was collected.
Yes.
Are we talking about the people pre-COVID, women who were already on a trajectory?
Okay.
So we've known for a while who's going back to college,
Mm-hmm.
who's getting the degree.
Mm-hmm.